Hi, welcome to the fourth and final video in our instructional video series on how to use the Makerbot 3D printer in the MUHS Library Media Center. In the other videos I showed you what the printer looks like, the parts of it, and how to use the Makerbot desktop software to load your 3D model to get it ready to print. And in this video I want to show you how to actually get your model printing, and then I'll give you some tips and tricks on how to be super successful in using the 3D printer. And lastly, I'll give you some regulations. Once you start using a 3D printer, there are some things you got to know about how often you can use it and when you can use it and things like that. So I'll be sure to share that with you at the end of this last video. So we have our model loaded on the Makerbot desktop software. We selected all of our settings and we're basically ready to go. I did one more thing over here at the printer. I actually did two things. One, I made sure that the 3D filament was loaded. If it is not loaded when you get here, please ask the librarian to help you to get the filament loaded so that you're ready to do your print. The other thing I did was in the menu here I selected preheat. So our extruder is preheated and it's ready to go. The filament is already a little bit preheated in the extruder and it's ready to accept the file from the Makerbot desktop software. So I'm going to turn around, I'm going to hit the print button, and then we'll see what happens. Okay, we hear some beeping and we have some action over here on the printer once I hit the print button in the software. The menu is asking, are you sure you want to print? This is a little bit of a safeguard, so somebody could be sending this file over the network or through the cloud to our printer because it's networked through the internet, and so sometimes there needs to be somebody here actually to hit the print button to make sure that the bed is clear and that nothing can go wrong during the print. So if you're going to be sending your file through the network from a remote location, maybe you can give a call down to the library and have them actually hit this button, but I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. It says begin printing, and I'm going to make sure that it knows that we definitely want to begin printing our model. So right now the extruder is slowly moving into place, and the next thing you're going to see is the bed is going to move into place as well. One thing we have here on the Makerbot is a self-leveling and calibration setting here. So the Makerbot knows where the bed is, it knows where the extruder is, and that just gives us a better success in all of our prints. So it takes a few moments for the bed to move into place and the extruder to move into place, and then we'll actually get to see the print starting. So here you can see that the bed is actually rising to meet the extruder, and as the model is printed, the bed will actually lower down as it deposits those layers to our model. So the z-axis, or the height of your model, is actually determined by the bed moving up and down. To start the model, it's going to start at its uppermost position, and then it's going to move down as it starts to print. So it looks like it's done its automatic calibration. It's almost ready to go. It might be just waiting for the final heating here. It's about 180 degrees Celsius, and it's looking to be about 215 degrees Celsius. So we'll pause here the video, and then we'll rejoin the video once we have a heated extruder and we have the model beginning to print. Okay, after giving the machine enough time to heat up to its appropriate temperature, you can see that our print is progressing quite nicely. In the previous video I showed you in the software that we selected a raft to be produced here on the print bed, and that's what the extruder is doing right now. It's laying down some thin layers of plastic so that it's easier to pry your model off the print bed once it's finished. So things are progressing quite nicely. You can see here that the extruder is moving smoothly over the bed surface. That's a really good sign. That means that everything has been calibrated correctly, the settings are good, and your print model is probably going to be successful. So this raft, or the first few layers of plastic, is going to take maybe about 10 to 15 minutes to finish before the model actually starts to be produced. So we'll pause the video again, and then we'll come back and rejoin the progress of the 3D print once the model starts to be built. So I'll see you then. Okay, so our 3D model has started to print, and I utilized one of our menu functions, which is actually the pause function. So I pause the print to kind of show you something about our print. You can see that the print layers are nice and flat, nice and level. None of them are peeling up, and there's no like spaghetti filament that's being produced here on the print bed, so that's a good sign that our print is going really well. If your print looks like this, then keep it going. Any other characteristics that you see in the print are cause for alarm and cause for you to hit the button on the printer to cancel your print and reevaluate some of your settings, reevaluate your filament, or maybe ask for someone else for some help. So we're going to go ahead and hit the print button again and see what the final product looks like. looks like our print model is finished, so let's go ahead and take it off the print bed. Remember that our print bed is a little bit flexible, so you can twist it a little bit, and you can hear it cracking a little bit. That's that raft coming up. Or you can just stick your fingernails under here and pop your models right off the print bed. This is stuck on there a little bit. So there we go. There's our print models that came off pretty easily, and they look pretty nice. And of course I can take this raft off. The raft, the bottom layer, comes off, and then I'm left with my complete model that I printed. Those are my earbud cases here. Place for the earbuds, and then wrap the wire around there. Looks good, all right? Made out of plastic. So in our video series, we took you from getting the file to knowing how to work the software and getting it loaded here on the 3D printer, and then finally being able to make the model that you can call your own. Now there are some tips and recommendations, and I want to finish our video with those. We basically have, I have two main recommendations for you, and the first is to make sure you monitor your print, especially in the first 5 to 10 minutes. Make sure that the plastic is being laid down nice and evenly, and there isn't anything that's going wrong with the way that that's happening. If you monitor your print in the first 5 to 10 minutes and things look good, chances are your model will turn out like this. It'll be a successful model. If you hit the print button and then maybe watch it for a minute or two, or maybe don't, and then leave, chances are something's going to go wrong. You're not going to know it. Somebody else may not know it either, and you may end up with not only a failed print, but maybe a broken 3D printer. And that's a pretty big deal, okay? The last thing, tip is to find help when you need it. So if you change your settings and it ends up improving your print, and that's great. But if you try some settings and it doesn't work, then find our librarian, find somebody who's done some 3D printing, somebody who has some experience. Don't go playing around too much with the settings right here on the printer machine, but go find someone. Find someone who can help you make a better print or be a successful, or make a successful print model. And lastly, we have two main requirements or sort of rules when it comes to using our printers. Aside from just being generous and making sure that people can print all the time and sort of staying out of people's way and not printing when they're printing, we have two main rules. The first rule is that you cannot print something overnight. So if it's late in the school day and you would like to print something and you're going to leave and the school is going to close, that qualifies as an overnight print, even though it may not actually print overnight. So you cannot print things overnight. And the last thing is that if you're going to print something longer than 4 hours, then you need to let our librarian know or let our technology staff know so that they know to help monitor it during the day while it's printing and help tell you when it's finished. So if it's telling you that it's calculating longer than a 4-hour print, or if the software tells you longer than 4 hours, you need to let somebody know, namely our technology staff or the librarian. Okay, so those are our tips and our recommendations and our rules for using our 3D printer. All you got to do is find a model and go print it.